Exclusive contracted novel by Fei Lu Novel Network. Hong Kong film. Summoning the Heavenly Master and spreading across Hong Kong Island. Zhou Yaowen traveled through the Hong Kong film world of the 1980s and 1990s and became the cousin of Liang Kun, awakening the system of alien wrongdoing. As long as you do evil, you can summon employees from the Everywhere Express Company, including a group of clever Feng Bao Bao, Zhang Chulan, Zhang Lingyu, and many other extraordinary people. For a moment, facing the extraordinary people with explosive combat power, the entire Hong Kong island collapsed. Chen Haonan said, "If you kill him, I can make a red stick." Ah! Master Tian, spare your life. Jiang Tiansheng said, "He's too strong. Playing with my horse, grabbing my dragon head. And letting that baby Feng bury me." Crow. Damn it, how could his henchman's eyes turn red? Liang Kun. Take your mother in your mouth, why is this cousin even more angry than me? One horse is not enough. Bury Hongxing, slaughter Dongxing, play and win together. Insert flag Taiwan Island and Australia Island, take Little Day, Ugly Country, and Golden Triangle. Those who follow me prosper, those who oppose me perish. On that day, when everyone in the underground world saw him, they all respectfully said, "Mr. Zhou." Fei Lu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Awakening the Golden Finger, Summoning Feng Bao at the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the 1980s. Hong Kong Island. By Dxian Street, Causeway Bay. Under the night, red and blue billboards flickered. The streets are bustling with vehicles and crowds. The eyes were filled with a bustling scene. At this moment, a slender and handsome young man is walking on the street. This person's name is Zhou Yaowen, and he is an ambitious young man in his early 20s. Not long ago, he turned a red light into a green light and was directly hit by a speeding truck while crossing the road. He was dizzy and in the next second, he crossed into this world of Hong Kong fusion. Through the reception of the original owner's memory, he knew that he was the cousin of Liang Kun, one of the people involved in Hongxing dialect. He is a poor boy who has nothing and knows nothing except a face. There is neither money nor people, let alone golden fingers. The days he traveled through have been even more difficult than the previous life. Therefore, he decided to come and join Liang Kun. How could this Nima be a street thug? Zhou Yaowen sat on the ground, feeling indignant in his heart. You should know that in the 1980s and 1990s, Hong Kong Island was a mix of good and bad. Societies like Hongxing, Dongxing, and Liansheng are everywhere. What are the Crown Prince of Hongxing, the 5 Tigers of Dongxing, and the martial idiot Luo Tianhong? It's completely a deadly era of experts like clouds, killing without blinking an eye, and eating without spitting out bones. Although he had a great fondness for watching quirky kids in his past life, he also fantasized about becoming a big shot. But in such an environment, my head is pinned to my waistband every day. It is common for someone to accidentally break their arm or leg, and have their intestines all over the ground. Without money or skills, it's like mud bodhisattva crossing the river every day, and it's difficult to protect oneself. He was even beaten up by the thugs here for stealing money just now. How to get around? Do you want to be someone's grandson? Just as Zhou Yaowen was pondering what to do in the future, a mechanical sound suddenly rang out in Zhou Yaowen's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully integrating with the Hong Kong film world, activating the evil system, and obtaining the beginner's gift package. Do you want to use it? System. Zhou Yaowen was stunned. This is Gold Finger. His eyes immediately lit up. These past few days have been so quiet that he thought he would be a street thug for the rest of his life. I didn't expect the Golden Finger to arrive even though it was late. In this way, it will be much easier to handle. Zhou Yaowen quickly muttered in his mind, use it. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Physical Enhancement Potion X1, Temporary Worker Feng Bao Summoning Card, and the ability to dispatch employees from the Express Delivery Company, Level 1. The current level and quantity of dispatched employees are: Ordinary employees, 0/5, 100% loyal. They have been placed in the system space and can be summoned at any time. The sound fell. A thin-mouthed and thick-bodied glass bottle slowly appeared in Zhou Yaowen's hand. I saw the liquid shimmering slightly under the light. Without hesitation, Zhou Yaowen opened the bottle cap and drank the liquid. And in the next second, he suddenly felt a force fill his entire body. Biceps brachii, abdominal muscles. The muscles all over the body seemed to be making a tearing sound. Zhou Wenyao sat up in an instant, his pain and fatigue instantly swept away. The scars on the body clearly disappeared. The system panel immediately came to mind. Host. Zhou Yaowen. Age. 24 Strength. 10 Speed. 8 Temperament. 9 Wisdom. 8. The upper limit for a normal person is 6. Zhou Yaowen looked at his attributes and felt happy in his heart. If it were just now, he would definitely have beaten those people who bullied him to the ground and called them dad. At this moment, Zhou Yaowen suddenly noticed the other two rewards in the system. Feng Baobao's summoning card and which Express Company's employee dispatch permissions. Isn't this something he mentioned in his favorite anime in the previous world? Unexpectedly turned into his golden finger. Zhou Yaowen was immediately overjoyed. This goes anywhere. On the surface it's a courier company. In fact, it is a secret organization responsible for managing outsiders in the Greater China region, with thousands of members. Most of them are outsiders with varying levels of proficiency. Any one of them is much more powerful than ordinary people. There are also many temporary workers such as Feng Baobao, Xiao Zizi, and He Guan Air. As long as you can summon one, it will be a dimension-reducing blow to these short mules on Hong Kong Island. Especially Feng Baobao, with an immortal body, is completely invincible. Now I have the dispatch authority for Feng Baobao and the courier company. Then he has simply obtained a groundbreaking weapon. From now on, Hong Kong Island will soon undergo earth-shattering changes due to Zhou Yaowen. However, currently there is only one level of permission. Only 5 employees can be dispatched, which is still the most ordinary and far from enough. This system is a malicious system. Do we need to do something bad to upgrade? The system did not answer Zhou Yaowen's doubts. Instead, there was a burst of noise coming from the nearby bathing city. Damn it. Fuck you. Ha family property. Damn it. Zhou Yaowen followed the sound. In the bathing city, a muscular man wearing a white T-shirt and carrying pants threw away the hairdryer wrapped around his neck. Looking back at him, cursing and frantically fleeing outwards. Then he crossed the isolation stone fence in the middle of the road and jumped onto the opposite road. Next up. A few more people ran out of the bathing city, all tattooed. Chase after the person in front desperately. Zhou Yaowen recognized it. The person at the front is Guan, while the person behind is none other than Chen Haonan and Shan Ji. This scene isn't it the scene in the movie, People in the Jiang, where Hong Xing, a big shot in Causeway Bay, sends Chen Haonan and others to kill Guan. And this Guan seems to be the sworn brother of the original owner's cousin Liangkuan. Zhou Yaowen looked at the figures of several people in the distance and smiled faintly. Then he walked into a deserted alley on the side. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Beating Chen Haonan and turning mountain chicken into vegetable chicken alone. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Meanwhile, on the street. Guan hurriedly crossed the stone wall of the road barrier. Pop it. I fell to the ground in one fell swoop. On the road with flashing lights, cars speeding past frantically honking their horns. Groups of pedestrians stopped and gathered along the roadside to observe. The entire street is filled with a tense atmosphere. Damn Nima. Chen Haonan, you bastard. Guan cursed and quickly got up. Now he is alone and weak. I can't beat these few people, Chen Haonan. Wait for him to escape, he's going to kill this group of dead thugs from the cliff. Just as he was about to get up. Hold him down. Pop pop. Chen Haonan and others pounced on him in one go. Dong dong dong. I started punching and kicking wildly against Guan. Ah! Get out of here. Guan exerted all his strength to breastfeed and pushed the few people away with all his might. Turn around and run desperately along the road. But what he didn't notice was that it was not far in front of him. The mountain chicken was holding a short knife, gritting its teeth and stabbing directly at Guan. As a result, Guan just turned around. Sting. A knife pierced directly into his stomach. Blood splatters everywhere. Instantly dyed his white T-shirt red. Grass. Go to hell. The mountain chicken quickly drew out its knife and roared, thrusting towards Guan again. If they fail Guan this time, they will be able to make another contribution. Soon they will be reborn and become famous with their red sticks. Result in the next second. Dong. Ah. I only heard a sudden scream. Closed his stomach and struggled to lie on the ground. But suddenly the pheasant flew a few meters away. Lying on the ground, holding onto his stomach and wailing in pain. Seeing this scene, everyone present was stunned. What's going on? Chen Haonan and his companions stopped their movements and looked around unexpectedly. I saw a disheveled woman dressed casually, with disheveled hair, dull eyes, expressionless expression, and a bit hunched standing behind them. Several men stood beside her, each with a stern expression and a murderous look in their eyes. And led by a casually dressed, slender man holding a cigarette. Looking at them with a calm face. It was Zhou Yaowen and the summoned Feng Baobao, as well as a few employees who knew everything. However, these employees have adapted to this world and the system has made reasonable changes to their clothing. Fuck. Who the fuck are you? Which way are you on? The foreskin looked at the kicked mountain chicken and immediately became furious. Quickly getting up and pointing at Zhou Yaowen, he cursed, "Do you know who we are, kid? I advise you not to meddle in your affairs. They are the popular figures of Hongxing today. Deeply favored by Big Boss B and Hongxing's leader Jiang Tiansheng, no one in the world has never heard of them. Even if his reclusive elder brother Lianquan comes, he still needs to discuss with them politely. A wild kid from somewhere. Do you dare to interfere with their work? I don't know where the sky is and where the earth is." As a result, Zhou Yaowen didn't pay attention and just took a gentle puff of smoke, saying lightly, "Tie him up." The words fell. Feng Baobao expressionlessly took out a rope and was about to tie the foreskin. The foreskin suddenly froze. What? How dare a messy woman tie him up? The foreskin was burning with anger, and he raised his fist and swung it directly at Feng Baobao, cursing loudly, "Grass. I have never hit a woman. Today. The result is not finished yet." In an instant, Feng Baobao knocked him unconscious and tied him up. Chen Haonan, De Tian'er, and Chow Pai on the side were dumbfounded. This woman didn't even take action. Did you easily tie up the foreskin? Chen Haonan's face immediately darkened. In this Causeway Bay, no one has ever dared to act so recklessly in front of him. Feezy, let go of your foreskin. Chen Haonan slowly stood up and stared at Zhou Yaowen with a murderous expression on his face. No matter who you are, there are rules on the road. This is our territory of Hongxing. It's not your turn to act wild. If you don't want to die, get out of here. Rules. Zhou Yaowen remained unmoved, just holding a cigarette and giving a cold smile. I, Zhou Yaowen, am just the rules. Then he gently waved his hand. A few employees behind immediately moved forward, approaching Chen Haonan and others step by step. At this moment, the mountain chicken ran over with several knives and quickly distributed them to Chen Haonan and a few others. De Tian Er and Chao Pai don't care about the life and death of Ba Guan on the ground. Each person held a knife and stared at the approaching few people. Dead on the street, toasting, not eating, punishing. Chen Haonan remained calm and said to the few people around him, "Brothers, go up. Kill them." After speaking, a few people immediately rushed towards the approaching employees and crazily attacked them. They have killed countless people, and their hands are covered in countless amounts of blood. Especially Chen Haonan, it's not a problem to hit 10 at a time, it's completely the strength of a quasi-red stick. Now they have a knife in their hand, dealing with a few bare-handed people. It's like a stone smashing an egg, it will cause serious damage. Just as they are about to fully participate in the battle. Feng Baobao slowly got up and scratched his head. Then with a swift step forward. Kaka. Directly discounted Chen Haonan's arm. Broken the hand bone of De Tianer. Kicked off one leg of the pheasant and nesting skin. Then he slowly turned around and walked to Zhou Yaowen's side. Looking expressionlessly at Chen Haonan and the others who were stunned in place. In front of Feng Baobao, these few people were completely powerless in the street. What strength, what swords, it's not worth mentioning at all. This. What's going on? Chen Haonan and Shan Ji, among others, stared at their hands and legs that were completely immobile. Completely dumbfounded. This messy woman, surprisingly, within a few seconds, abandoned their hands and legs. How could it be? How could it be? Ah! My hands! My legs! Chen Haonan and his companions knelt on the ground, howling in pain. Cold sweat keeps rising. Chen Haonan looked at Feng Baobao. Feng Baobao's face remained expressionless, while Zhou Yaowen, who was standing calmly beside her, was staring coldly at them. Cars passed by, and lights hit his indifferent face one by one. It seems a bit profound. Chen Haonan couldn't help but shudder. Who the hell is this man? At this moment, several employees around suddenly surrounded several people. Without saying a word. Dong dong dong. Instantly start beating and kicking wildly. Ah! Ah! Chen Haonan and his companions completely lost their arrogance just now. Curled up on the ground and screamed wildly. More and more people are watching the excitement around, but the voices of discussion are surprisingly quiet. Cars on the road also drove around one by one. Drivers couldn't help but probe and observe. Centered around Zhou Yaowen, the surrounding air pressure seems to have decreased significantly. Until a moment later. Zhou Yaowen suddenly pointed to the foreskin on the ground and calmly said, "Take these two people and evacuate." After taking the last sip of his cigarette, he threw the cigarette butt at his feet and twisted it. "It's time to meet my cousin whom I haven't seen in years," he said, Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Bu Dao Ba Guan, Meet Cousin. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A few minutes later, on Bade New Street, there was an empty alley at the end of the street. A few figures stood inside, staring coldly at the two people on the ground. The faint lights outside hit several people's faces, adding a touch of coldness. It's the group of Zhou Yaowen and Feng Baobao. After they left Bade New Street, they did not directly go to find their cousin Liangkuan. But instead, I entered this small black alley where even the hair was nowhere to be seen. The two people on the ground were the dying Ba Guan and the unconscious foreskin. "Boss, how do you deal with these two people?" an employee asked. "How to handle it?" Zhou Yaowen lit a new cigarette. The flickering flames quickly jumped in the black alley. Later, Zhou Yaowen spat out a smoke dragon and pointed at Guan, saying, "Kill him." Killed. The employee next to him suddenly felt a little confused. Didn't their boss just save this person? Why should we kill him instead now? And what they don't know is, Zhou Yaowen saved Guan just to kill him. Just hit Chen Haonan and kidnapped his foreskin, and the system gave him 2 points of malicious behavior. This is completely in line with his previous ideas. The evil system, as the name suggests. As long as it is doing something of a malicious nature, the system will increase its malicious value. But each item adds 1 point. Only his initial speculation of murder and wrongdoing has not yet been put into practice. So after Chen Haonan and others closed their hands on Ba, they took action, leaving only Ba to take a breath and let him end it. It can not only increase his mischievous value, but also sell off his pretty face when the time comes. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The employees around no longer said much and squatted directly in front of Guan. Facing the wound of Guan, 1 breath killed him. There is no trace of any knife repair. At the same time, the mechanical sound in Zhou Yaowen's mind also rang out. Kill Bashu and increase your evil value by 5. As expected, killing and committing evil earn higher scores. However, I'm afraid the points obtained from killing and committing evil may vary from person to person. We need to observe slowly in the future. Boss, should we also kill this? The employee approached the foreskin and reached out to use his breath for standby. Upon hearing this, Zhou Yaowen glanced lightly. From just now on, he noticed other strange people, including Feng Baobao. When using qi, it will turn into colorless air, even he cannot see it. So in the eyes of ordinary people, this is a normal fight, with no visible flaws. Zhou Yaowen sighed in his heart that the golden finger was indeed a good thing. Then he flicked the cigarette ash and said in a low voice, "Don't kill him. He has other uses." Now Guan is dead, he has verified his idea. To become stronger, this will inevitably be the direction of future attention. As for the foreskin, he naturally wants to cast a long line and catch big fish. At this moment, the voice in my mind rang out again. Ding! Congratulations on upgrading the dispatch permissions of employees at Dotong Express Company, Level 2. Activate the lottery function. Afterwards, the host can draw a prize once for each upgrade, and the higher the level, the better the reward will be drawn. The current level and number of dispatched employees are: Ordinary employees, 5/15, 100% loyal. They have been placed in the system space and can be summoned at any time. Lottery function. Zhou Yaowen's eyes immediately flashed with a hint of contemplation. If he were to follow the normal upgrade, it is unknown when his dispatch authority within the company will reach the level where he can be transferred to a temporary worker at any time. If there is a lottery, it's just a shortcut for him. Now the distance to the next level is 50 evil points. With these people in hand, you can quickly upgrade by making a few stinky fish and rotten shrimp. At that time, I wonder which expert will come to his side. Zhou Yaowen regained his senses and pointed his cigarette at the street where he came, instructing, "Go and take care of the little thugs on the roadside over there. The rest come with me, it's time to get down to business." Mong Kok, M Grand Bar. In the dim yellow hall, smoke filled the air. Explosive Hong Kong-style music was playing, and men and women were drawing their fists and guessing their palms. There were bursts of noise. At this moment, in a luxurious private room on the second floor, the colorful ambient lights flickered, and the colorful TV on the wall was playing cheerful dance music. On the red leather sofa inside, a man wearing an orange suit and enjoying himself is sitting on it, holding 2 hot-bodied horses on one side of her arms, with a few serving between her legs. This person is the spokesperson of Hong Xing in Mong Kok, Liang Kuan. Liang Kuan is greedy for money and lustful, indulging in gentleness all day long. Even most of the industries under his command are related to eroticism. Guan, are you still satisfied with their skills? A horse's face turned crimson, while serving Liang Guan and asking vaguely. Several other horses also vied to serve him. Disgusting, let me do it, let me come too. Liang Guan leaned against the sofa and said in a hoarse voice, one by one. The whole room was filled with a damp hormone scent. At this moment, the door of the private room was suddenly knocked on. Immediately after, his subordinates foolishly pushed the door and walked in. He walked quickly to Liang Guan's side and glanced at a group of women who were working hard to serve. Then he leaned into Liang Guan's ear and reported, Guan, it's not good anymore. There is news from Causeway Bay that those people from Haonan have taken action against Guan. What? Liang Guan was about to ascend to immortality when he was suddenly disturbed and became furious. What are you doing? Then he pushed away the women in front of him, gritted his teeth and said, it's his mother Big Boss B again. In early September, a batch of his goods had just arrived in the waters of Hong Kong Island when they were seized by the police. Last month, doing business with mainland Chinese in Yunnan was also messed up by Big Shot B. 2 times combined, he suffered a total loss of over 70 million. Now Big Boss B is closing his hands on his henchmen. Boss B, I want you to die with your whole family. Liang Guan's voice was hoarse, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. Call a few capable fighters and go see what's going on. He will definitely not easily let go of Big Boss B this time. Yes. Silly Chong responded, just about to leave. At this moment, the door to the private room was pushed open again. Zhou Yaowen took Feng Baobao and others into the private room while receiving system messages in his mind. Then he glanced at the private room and greeted Liang Guan with a faint smile, cousin, long time no see. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4 Get the territory. Wait for the fish to take the bait. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cousin. Upon hearing this, Liang Guan was taken aback and sat up to take a look at the door. I suddenly remembered when I saw Zhou Yaowen. A few days ago, his mother called him and told him that his cousin An from the countryside was coming to join him. Ask him to entertain well. Although Liang Guan is ruthless, fearless and devoid of any emotions. But only afraid of obeying his mother obediently. Mom said something, he could only grit his teeth and accept it. However, isn't his cousin always staying in the countryside? How come this in front of me doesn't even have the temperament of a country bumpkin from before? Are you on? Liang Guan squinted her eyes and asked in a hoarse voice. Then someone turned off the music and turned on the lights. A few women dodged aside and quietly looked at the people at the door. I saw Zhou Yaowen chuckling and humming. Then he waved his hand. Immediately afterwards, 2 people were lifted up from behind him. It is precisely the foreskin and paraphimosis. I saved him from a group of people on my way here. Zhou Yaowen walked over to the sofa and slowly sat down, pouring himself a glass of wine. He said he wanted to see Guan, so I brought it with me. He said, I don't know if it's your cousin. Zhou Yaowen took a sip of wine into his throat and continued, it's just a pity. Just as he finished speaking, he hiccuped and didn't have time to go to the hospital. The other one was caught by me from that group of people. Seeing the 2 people on the ground, Liang Guan was immediately stunned. That's Guan. Liang Guan remained calm and immediately stood up. Slowly leaned in. The result is the next second. I saw his eyebrows furrow instantly. I pinched my mouth and burst into tears. This is indeed his sworn brother Guan. A woman quickly walked over and handed a tissue to comfort her, saying, Guan, don't be too sad. As a result, Liang Guan took the tissue and slapped the woman out. He cursed loudly, I'm so sad. This bastard owes me over 20 million yuan. If he dies, who should I ask for it from? Liang Kun became increasingly sad as he spoke. He doesn't even care if Guan doesn't die. What he cares about is his 20 million. His money is his life, and now he's locked up and lost 20 million in vain. It's more unbearable than killing him. At this moment, Liang Kun calmed down and hooked the woman beside him. The woman covered her face and slowly walked towards Liang Kun. Just wanted to say something. Suddenly, Liang Kun grabbed the woman's hair and said with a fierce expression, I'm very angry now. After speaking, he pressed the woman under his own body. The anger gradually dissipated. The people around dare not make any noise. Quietly watching the woman help Liang Kun lower his anger. Zhou Yaowen sat calmly on the sofa, unable to help but feel a sigh in his heart. The first person to physically reduce fire, Liang Kun, truly lives up to his reputation. Boss B, right. Liang Kun looked at the bound foreskin on the side and suddenly gritted his teeth and said, Silly Chang, kill that street thug over there. Boss B killed his people. He must make Big Boss B pay for his debts with blood. He won't let go of any of his henchmen, Liang Kun. Wait a moment, cousin. Zhou Yaowen suddenly spoke up and stopped him, I can help you seek revenge. What? Revenge. Upon hearing this, Liang Kun was clearly stunned for a moment. He has always had a grudge against the big shot B. I have been fighting openly and secretly for so many years, but I have never been able to kill him. Boss B is a bully who relies on Jiang Tiansheng's henchmen. He tried every means to obstruct him. Whether in business or other aspects, he has suffered countless losses. Why doesn't he want revenge? There are national laws and regulations to help. According to Hongxing's regulations, it is not allowed to kill each other within the same sect. Once violated, he will never have the chance to become a big shot B in his lifetime. But the cousin in front of him is different. He neither belonged to any club, but also rescued Guan from the hands of popular figures such as Dazai Chen Haonan. Even tied one of them up. Regardless of how he used to be, his current strength cannot be underestimated. To take a step back, even if he was unfortunately killed by the big shots B and them, it had nothing to do with his handsome appearance. By this calculation, relying entirely on it is a matter of profit without harm. Liang Kun turned towards her, and her expression visibly relaxed. Zhou Yaowen took a faint sip of the wine and continued, however, I want a few things. Something. Liang Kun looked puzzled and said, what is it? Zhou Yaowen gestured for the foreskin on the side and said, leave this person for me, and by the way, give me another piece of land and 20 million yuan. What? A piece of land and 20 million yuan. Liang Kun was thunderstruck on the spot. But a kid who relies on others. Unexpectedly, the lion spoke loudly. You should know that money is life these days, and territory is meat and wine. Only with wealth and territory can one have status and stand firm in the martial arts world. I don't know how many people have been working hard for these things all their lives. This is all he took risk step by step, desperately trying to get it down. Does this kid just say he wants it? Moreover, his subordinates currently only have tens of millions of savings. However, Guan is now dead, his territory is empty, and someone must indeed take over. As for these 20 million, I can give you the territory. Liang Kun pushed away the woman under him and tidied up her pants, saying, but the maximum amount of money is 10 million. You can figure out the rest yourself. As she spoke, Liang Kun turned around and stepped on the steps that her 6 relatives didn't recognize. As she walked outside, she said, I will let Silly Chang hand over to you later. Go and see your aunt more often when you have time. After finishing speaking, he left with Silly Chang and others. Zhou Yaowen looked at the backs of Liang Kun and others and smiled faintly. Those who have come out to work these days are indeed prominent. If it weren't for him saying 10 million more just now. I'm afraid Liang Kuan, who loves wealth as much as his life, wouldn't give him 10 million yuan in pain and pleasure. 1 hour later, Causeway Bay, Kingston Street. Causeway Bay is recognized as the most oily area on Hong Kong Island. This includes streets of all sizes, including Broadway, Gloucester Road, Hing Fat Street, George Street, and Kingston Street. Each street has bars, KTVs, nightclubs, hotels, bathhouses, and other venues of varying sizes. Among them, all the streets such as Babe New Street, Gloucester Road, and Xingfa Street are under the jurisdiction of Hongqing. There is a saying in the martial arts world. De Zai Hong Xing, Si Zai Dong Xing, and Lian Chu Ji Jing. Hong Xing took over the entire Causeway Bay with numerous players, occupying it for many years. And the leader of Hongqing, Jiang Tiansheng, directly handed over this place to his trusted boss B as a messenger. But the only thing that matters on Jingshan Street is Guan. Although Kingston Street is not as oily as Patek Shin Street and Gloucester Road. But just 1 month's protection fee can also earn 1.8 million yuan. Brother Wen, after working here for a while, I can also play with the ocean horse. Silly Chang said and parked the car at the entrance of a bar. Then he got off the car and walked in with Zhou Yaowen, Feng Bao, and others. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Go back and tell Big Boss B. Here, I'll cover. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inside the bar. Silly Chang walked to the bar with Zhou Yaowen, Feng Bao, and others, and politely arranged for him to sit at a nearby table. Then he gave a command to the bartender, bring some bottles of beer to Brother Wen, and he will cover up here from now on. Yes. The bartender replied with a flattering smile. At this moment, Feng Bao walked expressionlessly to the bar and picked out a bottle of 60-degree whiskey and a glass. Sit opposite Zhou Yaowen. Pop. Cut off the bottle mouth with a single slap. Then he poured a cup and handed it to Zhou Yaowen. Then he took out a straw from his pocket and took a strong sip. Next second. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she thumbed up, saying, Bashi. Then he started drinking with a gurgling sound. Feng Bao's operation directly startled the people around him. This is the high whiskey they use to mix alcohol with. How could this messy woman be used as a drink? Zhou Yaowen smiled faintly, and indeed she is Bao's sister. She drinks the strongest alcohol. Then he calmly took the wine and scanned the surrounding spectators while drinking. I saw those little brothers staring at them in unison. When his gaze collided, he unconsciously dodged. He could tell that these people were clearly curious about him. But he knew that they were more likely to question. Although Guan is a ruthless, lecherous, and gambling addict. But as a thug, I can indeed cover up here. And in the eyes of those younger brothers, Zhou Yaowen only came through the relationship with Liang Kuan. I didn't engage in battles with those short mules, nor did I take them on adventures or make big money. Stick the label of white wolf gloves and getting something for nothing. These little guys said they didn't disagree, but it was fake. These days, it's not just enemies and fighting that come out to mess around. We also need to eat our brains, make friends, and take in subordinates in order to achieve long-term success. At this moment, get out of here and die in the street. From now on, this place will be covered by Brother Hongqing. Boss, you can't go in. This place is still open for business, Grass. Fuck you. Get lost. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the door. The sound has just fallen. Next up. A group of people stormed in at the entrance of the bar. I saw the first few people holding baseball bats and shouting arrogantly at the bar, those who are watching come out. Ba Guan is dead, from now on this will be our brother B's territory. Those who are sensible should quickly get out. As early as tonight, Big Boss B sent Chen Haonan and Shan Ji and others to take down Ba Guan. Just ordered a group of people to wait on Kingston Street for a long time. When the time comes, Ba Guan will cool down completely. They took action and directly took this Kingston Street into their hands. In the past period of time, they have already taken over numerous venues on this street. There are only a few sites left at the end of Kingston Street. At this moment, I saw a few people who suddenly showed signs of kindness. The bar, which was still bustling the previous second, gradually decreased in volume until it became completely silent. The music in the bar paused, and the lights gradually lit up. What? Is Brother Ba Guan dead? A few onlookers looked at each other, their faces full of surprise. They only know that Lianquan and Ba Guan are sworn brothers, and sending their own cousins is a family. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be Ba Guan dead. And this Ba is closed, occupying a street of his Boss B all year round. I have never dealt with Big Boss B. Now that Boss B has sent someone to collect the venue, I'm afraid Ba Guan has fallen into their hands. Everyone stared timidly at the crowd at the door, not daring to take a breath. I saw the young man in the audience change his face and smile in embarrassment, wanting to move forward. The next second, Silly Chang suddenly reached out his hand and stopped him. Then he looked at Zhou Yaowen sitting on the sofa, calmly drinking. All the young spectators in the audience, upon seeing this, also turned their attention to Zhou Yaowen. They also want to see if this airborne is really a little white-faced. At this moment, the bar is unusually quiet. It seems that everyone's breathing can be heard clearly. At this moment, Feng Baobao slowly stood up expressionless. While drinking, he picked up an empty wine bottle beside him and weighed it in his hand. Then he turned around and walked step by step to the few thugs at the door. Staring blankly at him. The young man at the beginning was being stared at with some hair on his head. With a disdainful expression on his face, he cursed, "Grass. What are you doing? If you don't want to die, get out of here. You're begging for food." He just finished speaking. Bang! A dull popping sound suddenly exploded in the bar. I saw the arrogant little brother standing in place just now. Dida. Dida. Drops of crimson blood. It flowed down his head in an instant. Next second. Pop it. One sound. I fainted directly on the ground. I haven't waited for everyone to react yet. Suddenly. I saw a dozen people rushing in outside the bar in an instant. Dong dong dong. Just knocked down a group of thugs at the door. Punching and kicking. Crazy punching. It is precisely the 15 employees summoned by Zhou Yaowen who can do anything. I saw bundles of colorless qi on their bodies passing through several thugs. It looks like a relaxed kick, a punch. Actually, it's a fatal blow that hurts both muscles and bones. Sting. Click. Arms one by one. One leg. Directly and forcefully torn off by them. These little thugs have completely turned into human flesh sandbags. It only takes a few seconds. Everyone spits blood from their mouths. They all fell to the ground. Wail of pain. Ah! My hands. My legs. The little thug curled up on the ground. There is no more arrogance than before. Just holding my head in pain, the memories of this life are like a lantern, passing through my mind once. This is a despair they have never experienced before. A dozen or so employees looked at the thugs lying in the pool of blood and didn't take any action. They all stood aside, waiting for Zhou Yaowen's next instructions. The entire bar once again fell into silence. Only a few thugs fell to the ground, groaning in pain. Go back and tell Big Boss B. Zhou Yaowen calmly put the wine glass into his mouth and slowly spoke, "Here, I'm covering it. Throw them all out," he instructed a dozen or so employees who were going anywhere. "Yes, boss." More than a dozen employees bowed in unison. Then one person carried a little thug. Directly thrown out of the bar. Immediately after, a dozen or so employees dispersed in unison. "Quickly head to other venues on this street to clear the scene." At this moment, in the bar, Silly Chang and all the spectators saw this scene. Everyone is dumbfounded. Cruel fierce, this pretty Kuan's cousin, what kind of airborne little white face this is, clearly a big shot. That messy woman who can drink alcohol. And this group of thugs who come and go as they please, there is a group of people under my command. This cousin is not easy. At this moment, all the customers in the bar suddenly realized. The smell of blood permeated everywhere. The dripping blood on the ground. Broken limbs and arms. A burst of excitement erupted in the bar. "Ah! We got into a fight. Dead. Ugh." Screams kept coming and going. Everyone in the bar is running wild. Quickly, everyone in the bar ran clean. At this moment, one by one, the younger brothers approached and bowed respectfully, saying, "Brother Wen, we will swear to follow to the death in the future. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period." April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Land robbed and people beat. Boss B is furious. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, Babe New Street, number 8 bar. Under the dim light, the usually lively private room of the second-floor bar was unusually oppressive. I saw Big Boss Beat sitting on the sofa, smoking a cigarette, his face looking a bit ugly. Chen Haonan, Shan Ji, De Tian'er, and Chow Pai stood across from each other with their heads lowered. A bandage hangs from the arm, one hand wrapped like a ball, and two leaning on crutches. Everything looked disheveled. Just an hour ago, Boss B learned that Chen Haonan and others were beaten up by people who had been killed halfway by the roadside. At first, he didn't believe it. After all, Chen Haonan and his group have been in the limelight lately, and almost no one can move them. After the few people returned, he was dumbfounded. He never expected that not only Chen Haonan and 4 others were injured, but even his foreskin was taken away on his territory, saving and hitting people. He has never seen such an arrogant person in his entire life as the Boss B. Who did it? Big Boss B frowned and asked in a deep voice. A flying boy named Zhou Yaowen. Chen Haonan had no confidence. The strength of the quasi-red stick has been beaten to such an extent. She is still a woman, it's too embarrassing. Upon hearing Zhou Yaowen's name, Big Boss B was clearly stunned for a moment. He thought it was brought by Liangkuan. But he has been fighting with Liangkuan for so many years, and has never heard of such a person around Liangkuan. I have been wandering on Hong Kong Island for so many years and have never heard of anything related to this name. Who is Yaowen this week? Brother B. The mountain chicken suddenly had a fierce expression and shouted angrily, "This brat Wen is causing trouble on our territory and turning us into this. I want to kill him." The Tian'er's fierce expression was also evident, and he cursed loudly, "The mountain chicken is right. Damn it, I must kill that dead thug on the street. Cut and feed the dog one by one. They are walking horizontally in Causeway Bay now, how can they bear such humiliation? Mountain chicken, calm down." Chen Haonan yelled with a black face and then looked at Boss B, saying, "The foreskin is still in his hands, Brother B. The top priority is to save the foreskin first." "Yes, Brother B, my younger brother is still in their hands." Chow Pai also showed concern. At this moment, their anger was burning, and they remembered that they had not been able to perform well just now. They had the heart to cut through Zhou Yaowen with countless knives and knives. It was their initial disregard for the enemy that led to the current scene. If we really want to fight, let alone that messy woman. Even Zhou Yaowen has to kneel on the ground and beg for mercy from them. And the big shot B naturally knows what they're saying, he's a big shot, and he can't wipe his own face. Is Ba close to death? After a moment of silence, Big Boss B asked. Chen Haonan looked at each other with some uncertainty and said, I was stabbed and should have died. Upon hearing this, Big Boss B's eyebrows immediately furrowed, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. It's okay if the person is robbed. If he's not dead, he can't explain it to Mr. Jiang. Just the injuries of Chen Haonan and a few others. I haven't waited for Big Boss B to say anything yet. G. The door of the private room suddenly slowly pushed open from outside. Boss B and others stopped talking and looked towards the door one after another. At the entrance, several people helped each other and walked in. They are covered in bloodstains, disheveled, with broken arms and legs. Not a single part of the body is intact. At the moment they saw Big Boss B, it seemed as if they had exhausted their last bit of strength. Pop it. In an instant, he all lay on the ground, trembling and saying, Brother B. Seeing a few people, everyone in the private room was stunned. What's going on? Isn't this the little brother they sent to collect Kingston Street? What happened? Boss B widened his eyes and stood up from the sofa with a jerk. How did you get into this situation when I asked you to collect the land? One of the younger brothers covered his broken arm and said weakly, Kingston Street was robbed by a man named Zhou Wenyao. What? Zhou Yaowen. Boss B was stunned. Suddenly, I was furious. It's him again. This flying boy from unknown sources repeatedly challenges his bottom line. Hindering him from doing things, injuring his subordinates, and now grabbing his territory. If we don't give Zhou Yaowen some color and spread it out, how can his boss B still mess around? Zhou Yaowen, right. Big Shot B immediately gave a cold smile. Heaven has its way, he won't go, hell has no door, he will come and die. I was thinking of finding someone to check his location. Now it's better, it saves time and effort. He came to seek death on his own. How many people are there? Big Boss B said in a low voice. About 10, Chen Haonan replied. About 10. Boss B was taken aback. 10 or so. His mother people dare to be so arrogant. I thought it was some kind of big organization on the road. It turned out to be a group of thugs with swollen faces pretending to be fat. Seeing the silence of Boss B, the foreskin quickly added, Brother B, there is a messy woman under his command who is very powerful. She caused all of our injuries. Even recalling the scene at that time, he couldn't help but wonder how the woman made her hand. As a result, Big Boss B suddenly felt a bit unhappy. Looking at Chow Pai, he frowned and said, What are you doing? Just one woman left you guys behind. So many years of club meals for free. Women. In the eyes of his boss B, women are just playthings that twist under the man's crotch. What can have high combat power, but it's just flower fists and embroidered legs. The foreskin and others also lowered their heads in shame. Haonan, how are you? Boss B turned around and looked at Chen Haonan and the four of them, asking. Chen Haonan knew that Boss B had allowed them to take action. Immediately, with a firm gaze, Big Boss B nodded and said, Shanji and Chow Pai have injured their legs and are unable to move. This time, let me go with air. Boss B glanced at the pheasant and nest skin leaning on crutches, and his face softened a bit. It's okay. Go check if the chin is really dead and also check the position of the foreskin. Then he walked to the flower pot in the corner and took out a pistol from below. Returning to Chen Haonan, he handed it to him and said, Remember, safety is the top priority. Yes. Chen Haonan took the pistol and immediately responded, shouting as he walked towards the door, air, let's go. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. What strength, talk to me like this. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Kingston Street, Rose Bar. In the bustling first-floor lobby, Chen Haonan walked alone through the crowd, observing and walking to the empty bar beside him. Carelessly observing everyone in the bar. Big brother, I said. I said I won't. I won't go, you won't. Don't throw it away. Leave me behind. What? What? Did you send someone to catch me? A stuttering voice suddenly entered Chen Haonan's ear. I saw a black, straight-haired woman with thick smoky makeup and a vintage costume on the phone. Then she looked behind Chen Haonan and leaned in front of him as if avoiding something. Hey, help me block. Block it. Chen Haonan lowered his head and glanced at the small stuttering of someone who had stolen his car a few days ago and had been fed steamed buns by them on Fei Mountain. The person has left. Chen Haonan lit a cigarette and smiled slightly. Zaya stuttered and glanced behind Chen Haonan again, then lifted his head and said, "Thank you." "It's you. Are you such a casual person before?" Chen Haonan joked with a smile. When I paused, I frowned and said angrily, "Damn it. Because of you, I'm going to be sold now." Chen Haonan was about to say something when de Tiansheng walked over. "I'm sorry last time, but I'll treat you to dinner next time." Chen Haonan smiled faintly and then turned to walk towards de Tiansheng. Little stuttered for a moment, feeling somewhat inexplicable. Eating. Do you want to eat steamed buns? Shit. God. Crazy. After roast, he ignored it. How's it going? Chen Haonan handed de Tiansheng a cigarette and asked. After coming out of the bar, the two of them divided their tasks to check the news. De Tiansheng is responsible for checking the news of the closure of the foreskin, while Chen Haonan is responsible for checking the place where the foreskin is locked. De Tiansheng took the cigarette and whispered, "I found it. Ba Shua is dead. He's with Liang Kuan now." Chen Haonan took out a lighter and ignited it, saying, "The foreskin is locked in the second-floor office of this bar. It is said that it will be delivered to the still-renovated Dunhuang bar tomorrow. Do you want to take action?" De Tiansheng asked, lighting a cigarette and taking a few puffs. Chen Haonan put away his lighter and glanced around, "Withdraw. This is all Zhou Yaowen's people, and they have no chance of winning when it comes to taking action. But turn us into such enemies, we won't just forget about it." Chen Haonan said and glanced at de Tiansheng. De Tiansheng immediately understood what it meant, and then gave a cold smile. "I understand." The two continued to take out pistols from their waists and walk step by step in the hall, waiting for an opportunity to move. And at that moment, the door to the second-floor office suddenly opened, and Zhou Yaowen walked out from inside. Looking straight in the direction of Chen Haonan, he gave a cold smile. Confronted with Zhou Yaowen's gaze, Chen Haonan immediately felt uncomfortable. Suppressing his voice, he shouted to de Tiansheng, "Run." He didn't read it wrong, Zhou Yaowen's eyes clearly predicted that they would come. He can't distinguish whether they are too hasty or Zhou Yaowen is too chicken thief. Now he only has one thought in his mind. Run quickly. Chen Haonan and de Tiansheng, holding guns, frantically escaped from the bar. A few younger brothers at the door, feeling a bit confused, approached and said, "Nange, what happened?" Before the younger brother could finish speaking, Chen Haonan ran away frantically and shouted, "Hurry up." At this moment, more than a dozen employees who knew everything quickly chased after them. Several of Chen Haonan's subordinates were caught on the spot before they could escape. The remaining few employees, who know everything, are chasing after Chen Haonan and de Tiansheng crazily. Chen Haonan pushed the crowd on the way and fled with all his might. On the road, vehicles honked and pedestrians cursed loudly. But ultimately, the two of them are not opponents of strangers. No matter how crazily they flee, the distance is getting closer and closer. And just as a ubiquitous employee was about to pounce on Chen Haonan. Bang bang. Chen Haonan suddenly turned around and fired several shots at the employee. Employees can quickly dodge by observing the surroundings. He just suddenly realized that there was someone standing behind him. At a moment of hesitation, several bullets directly hit his body and died on the spot. Ah! Dead! Help! Help! The people on the street were in chaos in an instant, running wildly around. The other employees stopped one after another at this moment, and the area ahead was the territory of Big Boss B, so it was not suitable to pursue them anymore. So he turned around and ran to the injured employee to pick him up, quickly returning to the entrance of the Rose Bar. Zhou Yaowen stood in place, frowning as he watched the body brought back by the employees. Tonight, he wants to verify the use of the system, and he does find Goldfinger fresh and interesting. After beating Chen Haonan and others, he also felt that he was the chosen son of heaven and was very impressive. But until this moment, a group of people with guns and knives actually attacked his people. He finally realized that Hong Kong Island was far more brutal than what appeared on television. Even the person summoned by the system is a life that is truly capable of falling at any time. A person who is not ruthless and unstable is really not a child's play. Chen Haonan. Zhou Yaowen stared at the distance, his voice was extremely cold. You want to die, his mother. At this moment, bar number 8 has a private room on the second floor. The door was suddenly pushed open, and Chen Haonan and Tiansheng rushed in, sitting on the ground panting wildly. How's it going? Boss B and Shanji Nest Skin saw this and quickly leaned in. Then he glanced at the door, but the little brother who followed him did not come back. They know that it should have fallen into the hands of Zhou Yaowen. However, as long as Chen Haonan and Tiansheng are alive, it's good. Brother B. Upon hearing this, Tiansheng looked at Big Boss B and said out of breath, got it. Ba is closed. The foreskin is now at Zhou Yaowen's Rose Bar. It is said that tomorrow he will be locked up in the still renovated Dunhuang Bar. Tiansheng said, swallowing saliva non-stop, his heart still beating wildly. He doesn't know if it's because he ran too fast or because he was scared by what happened earlier. He didn't expect that Zhou Yaowen's subordinates were chasing them like crazy people. If they hadn't run fast enough, they would have been Zhou Yaowen's henchmen now. Upon hearing these words, Big Boss B finally let go of his worries. Immediately, he praised Chen Haonan and Tiansheng, well done. However, Chen Haonan's expression did not show any relaxation. He only heard him worry a bit and said, Brother B, I just fired a gun on the street and killed Zhou Yaowen's person. I'm afraid the poor guy's sighed. Chen Haonan felt so happy in his heart after killing Zhou Yaowen. However, the area of Causeway Bay is bustling with numerous surveillance cameras. Killing people on the street is not a big deal, it's just that he used a gun. Although having guns in the club is a tacit agreement among everyone. But it is explicitly prohibited on Hong Kong Island, and the bad guys, especially the anti-black groups, deeply detest the clubs. Once evidence is found, they will inevitably be targeted. I understand. Boss B's face darkened, and after a moment of contemplation, he continued to command Chen Haonan, turn around and inform Boss to bring a few guns from the warehouse and dozens of people. Tomorrow night, go get rid of Zhou Yaowen and save his foreskin. Upon hearing these words, Chen Haonan and his companions exchanged a glance and knew that Big Boss B was taking it seriously. After all these years of not using a gun, now dealing with a Zhou Yaowen is a big fight. It seems that Zhou Yaowen will undoubtedly die this time. Chen Haonan then responded, yes, Brother B. We're going. A few people are about to leave. Boss B suddenly stopped them and said, you guys are going with me to Mr. Jiang's place tomorrow. Mr. Jiang has something to tell you. Mr. Jiang. Chen Haonan and a few others were stunned. Then they exchanged a glance and didn't say anything more. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Jiang Tiansheng's tasks. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next morning, in Repulse Bay. Repulse Bay is surrounded by mountains and waters, quiet and peaceful, and is a gathering place for many wealthy people on Hong Kong Island. The community leaders, government officials, and some wealthy businessmen and tycoons on Hong Kong Island all have residences here. Hongxing's leader Jiang Tiansheng is one of them. At this moment, Jiang Tiansheng's villa is located next to the backyard swimming pool. In the shimmering pool, a fair-skinned and hot-built horse with a smile on his face. Swimming happily in the water. This person is currently popular actor Feng and also Jiang Tiansheng's son. Chen Haonan and Shan Ji sat in front of the white round table by the swimming pool. Eating watermelon while closely following her gaze. Isn't this the big star Feng? Shanji stared at Chen Haonan and others with a coquettish expression for a moment, then turned to smile and said, I guess she must be Mr. Jiang's horse. The mountain chicken is named after its lecherous nature, especially when it comes to hot-bodied celebrities that are only seen on TV screens. It has no resistance at all. I even fantasized about how great it would be to play with such a horse all night. The big shot bee on the side glanced into the swimming pool upon hearing this. Then he said in an educational tone, in the future, when you come to power and earn money, there will be plenty of women. The words have just finished. A man wearing a black vest and pants, sunglasses on his head, and a long towel hanging from his neck walked out of the villa. He greeted Feng in the swimming pool with a polite smile, and then walked up to everyone. This person is Jiang Tiansheng, the leader of Hongxing. Boss B, Chen Haonan, and others stood up and respectfully greeted Jiang Tiansheng, saying, Mr. Jiang. Sit down. Jiang Tiansheng smiled and greeted everyone to take their seats, then sat down in a chair and said, even if you don't believe me, I've been getting up at 6 o'clock and going to bed at 10 o'clock every day for the past few years. If socializing is optional, then it's not clear how normal life is. As the leader of the club, Jiang Tiansheng completely abandoned the stereotypes of those club members in the past. Wearing suits and ties all day, playing and participating in various high-end occasions, with the sole desire to enter the upper echelons of society. Boss B naturally knows Jiang Tiansheng's thoughts and flatters him daily, Mr. Jiang, your business is already on track, so of course you don't have to worry. B, after 10 or 20 years of hard work, it's time to take a breath and enjoy life. Come with me to Fanling to play golf when you have time. Jiang Tiansheng picked up a piece of watermelon from the plate, smiled politely, and then asked Chen Haonan and the others beside him, are you the younger generation of Chen Haonan and the mountain chicken? Although he lingers in various occasions all day long, he stays in the villa when he has free time. But everything about the club is under his surveillance. There are ears and eyes arranged by him everywhere. Recently, it has been the group of Chen Haonan and Shan Ji who have once again made the club famous. Boss B is also his confidant, so he naturally has even more confidence in him. Yes, Mr. Jiang, Chen Haonan replied with a smile. Boss B also smiled and assured, these kids have been with me for over a decade, and there's no problem with their work. It's okay. The younger generation is formidable, Hongxing will rely on you from now on. Jiang Tiansheng smiled and clapped his hands, then turned his gaze to Chen Haonan and the others. However, what's wrong with all of you? He asked in confusion. He heard that people like Chen Haonan and Shanji are good at fighting, and it's hard to say one by one, but these few together are almost unbeatable. This time, several people have suffered varying degrees of injuries, indicating that they have experienced a considerable scale of war. Upon hearing Jiang Tiansheng's inquiry, Big Boss B and Chen Haonan's faces immediately darkened. Big Boss B immediately smiled and pretended to be calm, saying, "They are young and full of energy, normal to bump and bump. Just take a few days to rest." Chen Haonan and his companions also agreed, "Yes, it's all minor injuries, hee. They are currently in the limelight and being beaten up like this by a wild boy is disrespectful. They naturally won't find themselves in a difficult situation like this. Young millionaires." Jiang Tiansheng smiled politely and instructed Chen Haonan and others, "Eat more good food these days to make up for it. Hong Xing is still counting on you." Upon hearing this, a group of people burst into laughter. Chen Haonan and his companions quickly responded, "Yes, thank you, Mr. Jiang, for your love." Jiang Tiansheng nodded in satisfaction and then asked Big Boss B, "How has the matter with Guan been handled?" "It's done," Big Boss B replied. "Well done." Jiang Tiansheng then inserted a piece of watermelon into the plate and praised Big Boss B with satisfaction, "I can rest assured when you do things. This time, it can be seen as a warning to Guan. He knows the relationship between Guan and Liang Guan, and also knows that Liang Guan's fan behavior has violated the rules of the club. One of his starting points this time was to take down the Guan warning Liang Guan." Later, Jiang Tiansheng didn't say much and began to get back to business. "I brought you here today to ask you to do something. There are several gambling tables in Macau that have always been managed by us, Hong Xing. At the beginning of this year, the funeral sign over there didn't know what was going on, so they inserted a foot in. Saying that each table requires a commission of 30% is more greedy than the Macau government." Boss B immediately asked, "What are the plans for other clubs?" "I don't care what others are planning, I'm sure Hong Xing won't pay attention." Jiang Tiansheng changed his previous second of elegance and kindness, and his expression suddenly became a bit serious. "What comes out these days are money, territory, and horses. Cutting off one's financial path is like killing one's parents, stealing one's wealth is like stripping one's flesh. My own territory is being disrupted by outsiders, even if the other party is a local tyrant. They will never give way. If not handled properly, there will be a constant stream of people provoking them in the future. At that time, people will be at the mercy of others, and I will be at the mercy of fish and meat. Where else are they? What's up with Hongxing? Mr. Jiang, I know what to do now." Boss B's face darkened. He knew that Jiang Tiansheng was going to prepare to take down the morning label for them. "I will let you know the details." Jiang Tiansheng gestured to Chen Yao, a man sitting next in a suit and leather shoes. Then he regained his refined smile and looked at Chen Haonan, saying, "Haonan, if you can handle this matter, I will definitely take good care of you." "Thank you, Mr. Jiang." Chen Haonan responded with a smile, feeling happy in his heart. If this is done, there is a high probability that he will be given a red staff. Red stick, a symbol of the facade of the club, is respected by countless young brothers. He is the only character under the leadership of the club who can play the role of a spectator and a scout. He waited for this day for countless years. But before that, he still needs to deal with Zhou Yaowen. On the way back to Causeway Bay, the mountain chicken leaned against the backrest, feeling relaxed and said, "What? I thought it would end very late, but now I can still catch up with the big head when I go back. Yeah. Save the foreskin, get rid of Zhou Yaowen, it's exciting." Chow Pai responded on the side. "If you gain Jiang Tiansheng's appreciation, the person you dislike will disappear tonight." For them, they feel even happier than winning the lottery. However, Big Boss B gave a somewhat unhappy warning, saying, "You guys should all take good care of me when you go back. Big Boss can solve it alone. What's the use of Zhou Yaowen being so powerful? Isn't it made of meat? Just don't believe that a few guns won't solve just a dozen or so physical problems." The mountain chicken was puzzled and said, "Why, Brother B, we also But before he could finish speaking, Chen Haonan interrupted him. Shanji, Brother B has his own plans. Got it. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Inviting the Emperor to the Urn. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. That evening, Jingshan Street. On the neon shimmering streets, people come and go, and the roar of cars never stops. In front of a small stall, not two tall big-headed men sat on chairs. While drinking tea with my younger brother, I scanned the crowds coming and going on the street. In front of several scattered stalls not far away, there were also several men sitting with similar behaviors. These people are the ones sent by Big Boss B to take down Zhou Yaowen's big head and others. At this moment, I saw a crowd not far away. A short mule walked slowly and then saw him looking left and right for a moment. I took the opportunity to sit at the small stall in front of the big head. He lowered his voice and said, "Big brother," consistent with the intelligence he received. He did indeed enter the Dunhuang bar in front of him that was being renovated. There was no one inside, so Brother Foreskin was locked up there. Upon hearing this, the big head stared at the dim and noisy street ahead and drank all the tea in his hand. Then he ordered, "Tell the brothers to take the good guy and prepare to go." Yes. As the words fell, the two and his group set off one after another, moving forward in a scattered manner. In the crowd, dozens of figures gathered step by step towards the Dunhuang bar. Quickly arrived at the entrance of Dunhuang bar. "Big brother, that's right here." The little brother who was tracking just now stood at the entrance of the Dunhuang bar and cautiously said to the big head. I saw Big Head extend his hand and then take out the gun from his waist. Everyone stopped one after another. Those who pull out guns, those who hold knives, and those who hold sticks. Everyone stared fiercely at the bar. They started monitoring this street early this morning after receiving notification of the action last night. As expected, they found that Zhou Yaowen had indeed locked his foreskin in a Dunhuang bar. And this bar has just started renovating recently, with no customers or spectators. It's the best venue to make Zhou Yaowen a success. It seems that Haonan and his team are right. The two loaded his pistol and stared at the bar with a stern expression. Don't be careless, be careful of any ambushes. Follow me. After speaking, the two cautiously walked step by step towards the bar, with everyone following closely behind. I saw some dim lighting in the bar corridor. There was no one, it was very quiet. Passing through the corridor, then gently pushing open the door leading to the bar lobby. Next second. A brightly lit open hall suddenly appeared in front of everyone. There are no fixtures or decorators in the lobby. It's just an ordinary space with the floor facing away from the lights and white walls on all sides. And at this moment, everyone also noticed. Zhou Yaowen just walked up the second floor and entered the office. I saw Big Head give a cold smile. Then he waved to the little brother behind him, and a group of people cautiously rushed in. Everyone be careful, first observe the surroundings. Who can defeat Zhou Yaowen tonight? The boss rewards 100,000 yuan. The sound of the big head falling. The dozens of little brothers behind me are instantly passionate. Quickly examine every corner of the bar as if beaten with chicken blood. I searched the entire bar in a short amount of time. Big brother, we've checked everything and there's no ambush. One by one, the younger brothers came to report. Result next second. Click. The lights in the hall suddenly went out. The entire bar was instantly plunged into darkness. At this moment, an indifferent voice suddenly came from the ears of everyone. Are you looking for me? Almost simultaneously with the sound being emitted. Just a few sounds of something falling from the building. Next up. Pop 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 pop. Dong dong dong. Bang, bang, bang. A burst of fighting sounds suddenly sounded from all directions. Next second. Ah! Ah! A mournful scream instantly filled the entire hall. Big Head suddenly felt a bit uneasy. I saw a cold sweat on his forehead unconsciously. Then he tried his best to calmly search for the location of Zhou Yaowen. Find any clues or clues. Keep raising your gun. Bang bang bang. Crazy strafing. Zhou Yaowen, go to hell. The sound just fell. The result is in the next second. Kaka kaka. The lights in the bar instantly lit up again. The entire hall is once again restored to a bright state. And at this moment, all the voices in the bar fell instantly. Restored the silence before entering the door. The two is still raising his gun and searching everywhere. And as soon as he lifted his head, he realized. More than 10 men have surrounded him. Not far ahead of him. Beside a scruffy woman with an expressionless face. A thin-looking man sat on a chair, calmly smoking. In those indifferent eyes, there was a suffocating sense of oppression. The two met Zhou Yaowen for the first time. But he didn't realize that he was staring at him and feeling a bit panicked. Don't be afraid, everyone. Do it. Big Head turned his head as he spoke, wanting to say something to his subordinates. Next second he's just dumbfounded. I saw the surrounding ground centered around him. Scarlet blood, a knife and gun splattered with blood, the ground was covered in corpses. Big Head was stunned. How could it be? How could it be? Just the moment the lights were turned off did Zhou Yaowen kill all the dozens of brothers he brought with him. He is simply a fantasy. Anyway, I must kill you today. Big Head gritted his teeth and raised his gun to Zhou Yaowen, saying, even if I'm dead. The task assigned to him by his elder brother, he will do his best to complete it. As a result, Zhou Yaowen just smiled faintly. Taking a puff of smoke, the dragon said, do you know that you've worked so hard for Big Boss B? Boss B took Chen Haonan and the others to meet Jiang Tiansheng today. Then he put the cigarette into his mouth and took a puff. It's a pity to have such a good opportunity to showcase oneself close to the dragon head, he said. What? See Jiang Tiansheng. The two was stunned for a moment. What does it mean? Asked the puzzled question. As a result, Zhou Yaowen simply said, my meaning is very simple. You have been excluded. Upon hearing this, there was a hint of hesitation in Big Head's eyes. It is obvious that he has wavered. I came out to work, but I just wanted to rise to the top and one day become my own big brother. The faster and more direct way, of course, is to be able to directly meet the leaders of today. Boss B just assigned him a task. As for what Jiang Tiansheng saw, he didn't mention a word. I'm afraid Yaowen is deceiving him this week. But if Big Boss B really took Chen Haonan and his team to meet Jiang Tiansheng. So he don't talk nonsense. The two quickly cleared his mind and aimed his gun at Zhou Yaowen again, saying, I know how Brother B treats me in my own heart. Now all I need to do is kill you. Clear. He does have a clear understanding in his heart. Although ordinary Tycoon B said he treated him and Chen Haonan equally. But in fact, Big Boss B does favor one over the other, leaving a good opportunity for Chen Haonan first. And he was excluded like an outsider. He doesn't know, but what can he do? If you come out to mess around, you always have to pay it back. This is his choice, and it's all he deserves. And now, it's not the time for him to think about it. Take down Zhou Yaowen, that's his mission. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 11 Liankuan. I treat you as my brother, you. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Waste. On the side of Jingshiden Street, after leaving Dunhuang Bar, Big Boss B immediately cursed loudly, his face very unpleasant. Dozens of people with guns on their heads couldn't even fight barehanded. I don't know, I thought Zhou Yaowen was some kind of tough guy. He suffered a loss of 20 million yuan for nothing, and several years of protection fees were collected in vain. Boss B is very angry. I'm sorry brother B. The big head apologized with a guilty bow. Just an unknown rat, he thought it was no problem at all. Boss B let out a cold snort of displeasure, then turned to Chen Haonan and ordered, Haonan, send someone to investigate the background of Zhou Yaowen. Zhou Yaowen is so arrogant, perhaps besides Liang Kuan, there is no background behind him. Now he can't underestimate this kid anymore. In the next few days, you guys will focus on recuperating. This casino operation is only allowed to succeed and not fail. Boss B's voice softened a bit and patted Chen Haonan's shoulder, saying, if it's done well, I'll apply to Mr. Jiang to give you a few red sticks when I come back. When the time comes, let this arrogant guy know that he has offended the wrong person. Red stick. Chen Haonan and the others exchanged a glance, and suddenly their eyes lit up. He guessed correctly and quickly responded, yes, brother B. Boss B nodded in satisfaction and turned around to take people away. Chen Haonan and Shanji stood in place, their faces immediately darkening. In just a few days, Zhou Yaowen saved their face. The news about that night has been spreading widely recently, and everyone on the road is rumoring that Chen Haonan has encountered an opponent. Now that Zhou Yaowen is so arrogant, he directly demanded 20 million from them. They have been under Brother B's command for so long, not to mention 20 million. I don't even have 1 million yuan in savings. 20 million, what's the difference between this his mother robbery? After completing the task this time, they must kill Zhou Yaowen. Retrieve all the face lost from him. Nange. The mountain chicken limped over to Chen Haonan and raised its eyebrows, saying, go to Portland Street to lower the fire. Chen Haonan glanced at the mountain chicken and lit a cigarette, saying, I won't go. Not going. The mountain chicken was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly hugged Chen Haonan's shoulder and asked with a mischievous smile, why, Nange, you don't really like that stuttering girl from last time, do you? Hey mountain chicken, are you still thinking of soaking up a horse with your legs like this? Before Chen Haonan could react, the Tian'er joked on the side. Damn it. Damn it. It's my leg, not my chicken. The mountain chicken immediately waved his hand in disdain and limped to push Chen Haonan, saying, let's go. These past few days have been too unlucky, we need a few horses to help us get rid of the bad luck. It's really not possible, Nange. Let's call your little stutter. Chen Haonan smiled helplessly and said, get lost. The Tian'er, Chow Pai and Bao Pai look at each other and smile. Immediately, he also followed up. Count me in. I'll go too. And me too. The big head on the side looked at Chen Haonan and the others who had gone far away and remained silent. His face was full of disappointment. So what Zhou Yaowen said is true. Boss B just mentioned the next task. It seems that he has also been automatically excluded. Big head, come on. Chen Haonan and his companions noticed the big head behind them and shouted. The two snapped back and said, ah. Here we are. The next day, in Mong Kok, there was a photography building. People in suits and leather shoes come and go, while hot horses come and go. This is the photography company where Liang Kuan shoots third-level films. At this moment, in the office, Liang Kuan was wearing a green suit jacket and looked at Zhou Yaowen and Feng Baobao sitting opposite with a smile. I didn't expect you to be so reserved. You've been very imposing in Causeway Bay these past few days, he said hoarsely a few days ago. Zhou Yaowen was standing tall at the bar, and when Silly Chang returned, he immediately reported it to Liang Kuan. He didn't have much expectations for this cousin. I didn't expect that this kid really has some skills. Hongxing has numerous young players. Only none of his Liang Kuan subordinates can make a move. He had originally planned to hire Haonan, a popular subordinate of Boss B, to help him with the work. Now it seems that his cousin is even more reclusive than Haonan. Maybe he can really help him with some things. Cousin, you didn't call me here to praise me, did you? Zhou Yaowen just took a puff of smoke and said lightly. Upon hearing this, Liang Kuan was taken aback. Then he chuckled hoarsely and said, I called you here to help me with something. As she spoke, Liang Kuan casually took out a stack of banknotes from the drawer and placed them in front of Zhou Yaowen. I wonder if my cousin is interested, she said, as the saying goes, money can make ghosts grind. People may refuse anything, but the only thing they cannot refuse is money. As a result, Zhou Yaowen just looked at Liang Kuan and said indifferently, Cousin, please speak up. At this moment, Feng Baobao beside him immediately opened the zipper of his coat and stuffed all the money into it. Then he quickly zipped up and regained his dull expression. The whole process is just 1 second. Upon seeing this, Liang Kuan suddenly felt a bit dumbfounded. This Nima, it's really fast. Then Liang Kuan coughed dry and started talking about the main matter. I just received the news. The club wants me to go to the casino with Chen Haonan and the others to do the funeral bid in a few days. I want you to go and find a way to intervene. As she spoke, Liang Kuan slowly leaned back on the chair and squinted her eyes. If you can harm Chen Haonan and his team, then you can also blame me for this. I can't do without your benefits. He bribed Chen Yao around Jiang Tiansheng early in the morning, waiting for this opportunity to cause heavy damage to Boss B. Boss B relies on being Jiang Tiansheng's henchman, plus a few of his subordinates who can fight. Make every effort to sabotage his business. As long as we take this opportunity to make achievements, take down Chen Haonan, and weaken the power of Big Boss B. Afterwards, he teamed up with Chen Yao to become the leader, and once again, he directly defeated Big Boss B. By then, the entire Hongxing would be his. No one can stop him from making money anymore. As a result, Zhou Yaowen simply responded lightly, Sure, but I have a request. Requirements. Liang Kuan had some doubts and said, What requirements? Zhou Yaowen smoked and remained silent for a moment. I haven't figured it out yet. What? Is it okay to make a request before you even think about it? Stinky kid. Liang Kuan's hoarse voice immediately condemned him. I treat you as my brother, and you treat me as the king of the wishing pool. A few days ago, I came to Hong Kong Island and asked Zhou Yaowen to do something, so I made demands and conditions. If it weren't for Zhou Yaowen being useful, he wouldn't have picked up this bastard. Director, hello. I brought a little girl up for an audition. At this moment, a man's voice suddenly came from outside the window. Liang Kuan and Zhou Yaowen looked out at the sound. I saw a group of men in the middle, wearing a denim jacket, black suspender, and a red mini-skirt. A seductive woman with disheveled hair and thick smoky makeup on her face, standing in place with a face full of reluctance. Zhou Yaowen recognized that this was Chen Haonan's horse, stuttering. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.